How do you round a number? So if I have the number 25, I know that the 2 is in the tens place. I know that the 5 is in the ones place and the decimal point comes at the end. So my 5 is in the ones place, my 2 is in the tens place. I want to round this number to the tens place. So I'm going to underline it. The place I want to round to, I underline. If I'm rounding to the tens place, I underline the tens place and star the number after it. Underline the tens place, star the number after it. Then I'm going to ask myself, the star of the show, the number with the star above it, is that 5 or bigger? Is that number a 5 or is that number bigger than a 5, like a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9? If it's 5 or bigger, this star of the show right here, I'm going to ask myself, can I push this 2 up? Yes, because that's a 5 or bigger. I give this 2 a shove up to the next biggest number, which is 3. And then what's nice about my method, the star and all the numbers after it would become zeros. So I know my star number becomes a 0. Okay, so 25 rounded to the tens place becomes the number 30. Let's do another one. When you're doing these, follow my directions exactly, okay? We're going to round 678 to the hundredths place. Hundredths. After the decimal point, you have ths. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So we're going to round to the hundredths place. So I see a decimal point, 6 is in the tenths, 7 is in the hundredths place. I'm going to underline the place I'm rounding to. I'm rounding to the hundredths place. I underline the hundredths place, star the number right after it. After you put your underline, star the number right after it. Now we're going to look at our star of the show, our 8. Is that a 5 or bigger, that number? If it is, I'm going to give that 7 a shove up. Remember, 5 or above, give that underlined number a shove up. So we can see that the 6 would stay exactly the same. You don't do anything to it. Anything in front of that underlined number, you keep just the way it is. Okay, the 8 made my 7 go up to an 8, and the star of the show and anything after it becomes zeros. So 678 thousandths rounds to 680 thousandths. So now let's do one with 4 or below, because these are the numbers that we're going to leave alone. If you have a 4 or below as your star number, your number is not going to go down. It's going to stay the same. You're going to leave it alone. So let's look at one. If I want to round the number 432, and I want to round it to the hundreds place, I can see I have a decimal point, then my ones, then my tens, my 4s in my hundreds place. That's where I'm rounding to. I'm going to underline the place I'm rounding to. Star the number after it. You always star the number after it. I'm going to look at that star of the show. If it's 5 or bigger, I'm going to give my 4 a shove up to the next number. But if it's 4 or below, I'm going to leave that 4 alone. So that is a 4 or below. It's a 3. So I'm going to leave my 4 alone. It stays exactly the same. And then remember, the star and all the numbers after the star will all turn into zeros. So my 3 becomes a 0 and my 2 becomes a 0. So 432 rounded to the hundreds place becomes 400. So underline the number of the place you're rounding to, star the number after it. Look at that star of the show. If that's 5 or above, give that underline number a shove up to the next number. Look at that star of the show. If that is 4 or below, you leave the underline number alone. You don't do anything to it.